Today on America's Test Kitchen, Bridget prepares grilled chicken souvlaki. Adam reviews mixing bowls in the equipment corner. Lisa reviews Greek yogurt makers. And Julia makes tabbouleh. Right here on America's Test Kitchen.
So we're here at Kefi in the Upper West Side of Manhattan. We're going to talk to Chef Michael Psalakis about Greek food, and we don't really know that much about it.
The easiest way to look at Greek food, honestly, if Turkey and Italy had a love child, it would be Greek. I mean, that's the simplest way of looking at it. I think
that's a good way to get people thinking.
Italy, the big difference between Italian and Greek food, though, is Turkish occupation. So you have all of the aromatics and the beauty of the Middle East sort of filtering down into the Mediterranean. Lemon juice or acidity is probably one of the most dominant features that you'll find in Greek food. We love bright acidity and the playfulness that it has with food. So when you think about Greek food, because it has such bright acidity, it's like eating a roller. It's like eating on a roller coaster. It goes up and down, up and down. And the brightness of the acidity, I think, is really what defines that.
Right. So tell me a little bit about this dish.
So this is a pasta dish. Everything that's on this dish really embraces what Greek food is and what Greek flavor profiles are. There's sun-dried tomatoes, and there's olives, and there's feta cheese. So here, what we're doing is a naked pita. It's just the cheese inside without any filo dough or pasta wrapped around it. Sort of like maybe a gnocchi or a nudi, from Italy. Fish, big player in Greek food. The idea of just grilling something very simple over an open flame, dressing it with a little bit of lemon juice and extra virgin olive oil. Pretty much everybody, if you know anything about Greek food, would probably know tzatziki. It's that white sauce, which is a yogurt-based sauce. And you find that in probably the most famous street food that we have, souvlaki or gyro. You would pronounce it gyro if you were Greek, not gyro.
Okay.
This here, to me, is really just embodied street food. It's really sort of food on the go. So, you're able to use a pita to sort of stuff it with whatever you're looking at. Here we're using chicken. We serve it with pork. We serve it with beef. We serve it with lamb. What you would find in Greece, and I love this, is they actually put French fries in it. It's really like a whole meal to go and wrapped up.
I like that.
And I think the idea of convivial dining is what Greek food really is all about. In its soul, it really wants you to sit down as a group and create a memory. Not necessarily about the food, but about the relationship that you're having with the people that you're dining with. And that's the beauty of food.
Chef, thank you very much. We've learned an amazing amount about Greek food today.
I'm glad.
So now that we've been inspired about Greek food, let's go back to the test kitchen and have some fun with it.
So for grilled chicken souvlaki, we're back in the wonderful world of kebabs.
Yes, we are.
And chicken kebabs are tough.
And today we're using boneless, skinless chicken, which is the leanest of all meats. So you pack them together, you put them on the grill, some parts overcooked, some parts are undercooked. There's a lot of problems with it.
And that's why we brought the expert today.
That's right.
We bring you out for the hard stuff.
Oh, great.
Okay.
Thanks a lot. Well, before we even get to the chicken, let's talk about the traditional sauce that's usually made with souvlaki, and that's tzatziki sauce. Tzatziki. I love to say it, and I love to eat it. And it's a garlic sauce, yogurt, cucumber, lemon, some great flavors. And the first flavor that we're going to deal with is garlic. We minced one small garlic clove and then let it sit with a tablespoon of lemon juice for about 10 minutes. It tempered the garlic bite, so it softened those flavor compounds. So this is a cucumber-based sauce. I've already peeled a half a cucumber. That's all we need for the sauce. Going to cut this in half lengthwise and then get rid of the seeds. It's great to use one of these measuring spoons just to scrape out any of those seeds. All right, so now we want to chop this into fine pieces. So I'm going to space the cuts about 1/8 to 1/4 inch apart, just like that, and then just cut across. This is 3/4 cup Greek yogurt, so it's super thick, and this is 3 tablespoons of fresh mint, and a tablespoon of fresh parsley, and 3/8 teaspoon of salt. Got a whisk here, and you can see this is quite thick. But as the salt starts to draw out all that cucumber liquid, it's going to thin out nicely. All right, set this aside. I am going to cover this. I'm going to let this sit here so that the flavors can meld while we work on the rest of our souvlaki. Now we've got 1.5 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken breasts. A lot of recipes will marinate these in a very acidic marinade. And the reason that they do that is they think that it adds moisture and flavor. It adds a little bit of flavor, but what that acid's doing is actually turning the proteins kind of chalky and drying out. So instead of marinating, we're going to soak this in brine. And this is a quart of water. It's going to mix in 2 tablespoons of table salt. All right. And now, go ahead and grab this knife. We're going to cut the chicken breasts into about 1-inch pieces, maybe a little bit larger. All right, so I'll start by cutting lengthwise and then across, and go ahead and plop them right into the brine. All right, so finally, we want to cover this chicken and the brine. So this is going to go into the refrigerator and brine for 30 minutes. All right, so Chris, we took the chicken out of the brine and I patted it dry very well. And that's important because if it's really wet, it goes onto the grill, it steams and it doesn't develop any color. So this is 1/3 cup of olive oil. Got 2 tablespoons of minced parsley. I'll let you take care of all my dirty bowls, okay?
This is what I do here at Test Kitchen.
That's right,
Yes.
You're the bowl guy. And I've got 1/4 cup of fresh lemon juice and a teaspoon of fresh lemon zest. We've got a teaspoon of dried oregano and a teaspoon of honey. Now the honey is in here because it's going to help give the sauce a little bit of body, but that extra sugar in there is also going to help with browning because boneless, skinless chicken breasts don't brown very well. And finally, we've got 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper. I'm just going to whisk this together. We do want to reserve 1/4 cup of this to use a little bit later on. So again, we're going to use some of this to brush on the chicken before it goes out to the grill, and later on when it comes off, it'll get a nice bright hit. And I'll go ahead and put the chicken right into the remaining sauce. We're going to toss this until it's well coated. All right, so let's talk a little bit about pitas. And we're using the pocket kind. You can find it at the supermarket. These are kind of brittle and they can start to crack on the grill. We want them to be moist and flexible so we can wrap them around our souvlaki. So what we want to do is take 2 of these and just moisten it with a little bit of water, top and bottom. I'm going to layer that right on a piece of foil that's been greased with a little bit of vegetable oil spray. I'll put 2 dry pitas right on top, and then moisten the top one. And what this is going to do is it's going to steam inside of this foil packet and moisten those 2 in the middle. So just wrap this up tightly. And we'll steam these on the grill rather than place them directly on the grill because the chicken is going to have enough grill flavor. Now, in addition to the chicken, we're using red onion and green bell pepper. And there is a specific way that you need to cut these. I'm going to go ahead and lob off the top and then cut it right through the root end. And we'll peel this half. And now we're going to cut each of these halves into 4 pieces. For the bell pepper, I'm going to go ahead and cut it lengthwise right through the stem. And you can pull out that core in the stem. And we want to get rid of any seeds in there. And I'll go ahead and cut this again lengthwise in half. And now I'm going to cut each of these into 4 pieces. So we're totaling 16 pieces. All right. So how you put the skewers together actually makes a big difference. A lot of people will just load the skewers all with meat, which sounds like a good idea. But we found that when we cook these with all meat, the end pieces of meat were way overdone before the center. All right, we're going to load each skewer with 4 pieces of pepper. And now I'm going to put 1/4 of the chicken, just really pack it on here. All right, and then 2 of these wedges of onion. So now we've removed any chicken from the end of the skewers that could overcook very easily. We replaced them with the vegetables.
Very clever.
All right, let's get that souvlaki on the grill. And I've gone ahead and preheated the grill with all of the burners set to high, so it's nice and hot. And that allows me to very easily go ahead and clean off the grates. Then take several wads of paper towels and dip them in some vegetable oil and run them back and forth over the grates, just to make sure that the grates start to develop kind of a nonstick coating. Now we're going to use a dual level fire here. We're going to leave one of the burners on high, but turn the other 2 completely off. And this is going to give us a nice indirect heat. We're actually going to sear the chicken right over that direct heat, but we don't want it too hot on this grill, otherwise the souvlaki would burn too fast. Because it is lean chicken though, we do want to put these skewers right over the hot side. There we go.
Would that be the hot side?
This would be the hot side, good guess. All right, and now want to cover with the lid, and we're going to let these go for about 15 to 20 minutes. And every few minutes I'll go in there and go ahead and rotate them and make sure that they're coloring nicely. But they'll be ready to take off the grill when the chicken registers 160 degrees. Time for the chicken to come off. Oh, there's a nice char on those vegetables too.
You did a very good job. Bridget
Magic.
needs a lot of support, you know.
I do.
You do, yeah.
All right, so now we're going to put these skewers into that reserved lemon mixture, and we'll use a fork to just scrape the chicken and the vegetables.
Looks good.
I know. And now I'll go ahead and toss these with some tongs or a fork. I just want to break up the onions a little bit. We're going to let this sit for 5 minutes under foil. I'll go ahead and take our pitas, and we're going to put this on the cooler side of the grill. We're just going to let them steam and soften, and I'll go ahead and flip it a couple of times. That'll take about 5 minutes as well. So when they're done, we'll take the pita and the chicken and go in and make some souvlaki. All right, Chris, you've waited long enough. Just giving this a quick toss, and then we can assemble our souvlaki.
Every time you say quick, it's another 5 minutes. That's all I know.
All right, so we've got our beautiful steamed pitas here. Just going to place this on a piece of foil. We'll use this to contain the souvlaki. A couple spoonfuls of our tzatziki sauce. Chicken and vegetables. All right, let's fold this back. It's going to make this easier. We're going to roll it up into a cylinder. Just like a baby. The chicken is so moist. It's got tons of that lemon flavor because we soaked it in that sauce after it came off the grill.
I mean, the chicken is perfectly done. It's not overcooked. Nice flavor. Tzatziki sauce is great. And the pita is nice and soft, too. It's not all, you know, sometimes it gets dry on the grill. Yeah, so. So the secret to great grilled chicken souvlaki is actually fairly simple, which is you start with skinless, boneless chicken, cut it into cubes, and brine it for about half an hour. And then we made a sauce with cucumbers. We actually made it with Greek yogurt, so the water from the cucumber actually loosened up the sauce a little bit. On the grill, and we did skewers with peppers on one end, the chicken, and then the onions at the other end to protect the chicken. Very smart. So there you have it, from America's Test Kitchen to your kitchen, a terrific recipe for grilled chicken souvlaki. I remember growing up in the 60s, I had a great love of cars. I drove an early Mustang. I loved those early Firebirds as well. And of course, that boat tail Alfa Romeo on the Graduate was the car I always wanted to own. Now, my father, when I talked to him about cars, said this. He said a car is simply a method of getting from point A to point B. And so I'm here in the test kitchen, oddly enough, with bowls, wondering if there's nothing to bowls. It's just a way of getting from mixing ingredients into the oven.
Well, you know, your father didn't have a point about cars. They're all romance and style, but he had a great point about mixing bowls. Really, when you're working with a mixing bowl, you want it to be generously proportioned, easy to handle, and you don't want to notice it at all. And there are a lot of styles and materials out there. We decided to take a look. We got a lineup of 7 sets of mixing bowls. When I went shopping, I found out something interesting. There are no industry standards for sizes. So we took a poll in the test kitchen, decided that a small bowl is about 1.5 to 2 quarts. A medium bowl is about 2.5 to 3 quarts, and a large bowl is 4 to 6 quarts.